Heat fans, we're already eliminated from the postseason at the hands of the Boston Celtics. I cannot take taking 2 L's to the Celtics in 1 month. So help me out here. We're trailing our May sub battle by 34 subscribers. It's early. It's just the first quarter of the month, if you will, but we need to catch up. We're down 34, so hit that sub button. All right, I am Nick Roloff. This is the Heat Report by Chat Sports. We have a lot to discuss on today's episode because, well, this man, Pat Riley, made a lot of mentions today of the Heat's future with Jimmy Butler, Tyler Herro, Bam Adebayo, Caleb Martin, and many of other things as well at his end of season press conference. It was not aired, but we got all the notes and the important quotes to share with you guys, so you guys have everything up to date. The first thing I want to start with this is he kind of went on a little monologue to open up the presser over the Miami Heat season, and this is the part that stood out to me and the one quote I wanted to grab and share with you guys. We got to change some things, but we're surely not going to rip things apart here. To me, that means two things, and I don't want to overreact, and I'll say this throughout the entire video, by the way. This is his end-of-year press conference. He is not going to go out there and reveal his cards, put them all on the table and say, yeah, we're blowing it up. Yeah, we're trading Jimmy. Yeah, we're going to try to trade for Donovan Mitchell. He's obviously not going to say those things because he can't reveal what he wants to do with this roster. But I do believe, assuming Jimmy Butler does not request a trade, which we could get to in just a bit, everybody on this roster could be moved on from, in my opinion, outside of those two right there. Jimmy and Bam. Not ripping this thing apart. This thing equaling the duo that Jimmy and Bam is and have become over the past 5 seasons since Butler joined the Miami Heat. So to me, that quote means everybody could be moved besides those two. But then we did talk a lot about Jimmy Butler and a potential contract extension, his availability, but this is what Pat Riley said on J-Butt. There are things you really need to look at that are good. Who moves the needle the most on our team? It's Jimmy. Jimmy moves the needle the most. But when asked about a potential contract extension this offseason, as there's been a lot of rumors about Jimmy wanting a 2-year max contract extension this offseason, Pat Riley didn't really commit to that. This was the intriguing quote here. We don't have to do that for a year. We have not discussed that internally right now, but we have to look at making that kind of commitment. And when do we do it? We will see. We haven't made a decision on it. And I'll say this first. When he says has to be done in a year, the deadline to give him that 2-year Supermax extension that Butler allegedly wants is late June of 2025. So technically, he is correct. Now, could Jimmy Butler technically force his hand and request a trade if he does not get that contract extension? Yes, but Miami does not need to do it this offseason. But going back to Butler, Riley acknowledged Jimmy's availability and challenged him to be more available for the Miami Heat. He actually had this quote that I thought was very funny about how he does not like the 65-game rule in the NBA to qualify for awards and stuff like that, because it actually sends the signal it's okay to miss 17 games. And Pat Riley, throughout this entire press conference, was very agitated when speaking on player availability, specifically Butler. He hasn't played over 65 games in the past 4 or 5 seasons. Obviously, 1 year was shortened because of COVID, but he has not reached that benchmark. He also talked about Tyler Herro's availability. And if there's one thing you need to take away from this press conference, as we do have other things to show as well throughout this video, the number one thing, though, he is very frustrated with the inability for the Miami Heat to stay healthy. That goes to Jimmy. That goes to Tyler. That goes to everybody else on the roster. He is getting sick and tired of people missing games. But I do want to ask you this question. It's today pinned comment. So if you get hit with the YouTube ad break, let it play and answer it, as it is a very important question surrounding our Miami Heat. Should the Heat extend Jimmy Butler right now? Type Y for yes or type N for no. All right, I wanted to talk about the potential moves happening in the offseason now for the Miami Heat, because this coming from Tim Reynolds, Pat Riley said there's 2 or 3 critical players in the league who would get the Heat's go for it, shoot for the moon. Otherwise, he stresses this summer isn't necessarily about adding a star, and he points that out of the 8 tax teams, Miami included, 6 are done. I do find that intriguing, by the way, that the teams, at least the top 8 teams who have paid and are paying their players the most money, are actually out of the playoffs. Like, it has not been a proven recipe for success. And as you've seen with some teams, if you just get that dynamic duo that you have in Jimmy and Bam, they stay healthy, and then you get a really talented roster around them that complement them with decent size, athleticism, shooting, that might be the way to go rather than trying to create the big 3. Now, I do want to go back and address the 2 to 3 critical players in the league that would get the shoot for the moon. Who are those players, and who could they be in the offseason? I think 3 of these guys are absolute locks. Kevin Durant has always had the eye of Pat Riley. Riley made multiple attempts to acquire Kevin Durant. In the 2016 offseason, he tried to sign him when they had a bunch of cap space, ended up not working out, and he pivoted to Hassan Whiteside, Tyler Johnson, and Deion Waiters. Disaster. But I do think he would try to spin the block on KD, as he did in the 2021 offseason, which ironically was the same summer that Donovan Mitchell got moved. I think LeBron James would be that guy. Now, that's a different story because you would not have to trade to get LeBron in all likelihood. In this hypothetical scenario, he would have opted out and he would be a free agent, so you would just have to shed salary by maybe trading Herro or Rozier to other teams to get picks back or other role players on a cheap contract and then sign LeBron. But the bottom 2 would also qualify for the shoot for the moon, if you're asking me. Mitchell, 27, Booker, 27, have been outstanding perimeter and 3-level scorers, and they fit the timeline of Bam Adebayo while also trying to help you win now with Jimmy Butler. I get you might not want to do a big 3 again, but if you do want to do that, 1, 2, and 3 would be 3 players I would categorize as shoot for the moon-esque players, where we're dropping everything, sending our entire package, our best package, to try to get those players in the 305. And personally, I just don't think you could seriously run it back. I don't think you can. And it would be an embarrassment if they did. I don't want to trade Jimmy. I'm certainly not trading Bam. But if you had to pick between the 2 for the long term of this franchise, I'm probably keeping Bam Adebayo. Yeah, I said it. He's just younger, and he's been with the Heat for so long, and he's continuing to evolutionize his game. But if you seriously bring back Herro, Jimmy, Bam, Rozier, and this whole team, I don't think you could be considered serious. This team, I think, could be better next year after having another year of playing together, assuming you stay healthy. They will be a better team next year than they were this year. I don't think you can deny that. But it just is an unserious notion to believe this roster is as talented as enough to get over the hump, because the Knicks are going to make improvements. The Bucks are likely going to make improvements. The Celtics are the best team in the NBA on paper and on record. You can't run it back if you seriously have aspirations of winning a title. If you just want to make the playoffs and make money for Mickey Arison, sure. But if you're serious about winning, Pat Riley, no running it back. More to dive into from today's press conference, but we are sponsored by PrizePicks, my favorite sponsor here at the Heat Report, because I love playing daily fantasy sports. They make watching the NHL and NBA postseason so much more fun. It's daily fantasy made easy. All you do is pick more, pick less. It's that simple on 2 or more player stat projections. And during the month of May in these postseasons, you can win up to 100 times your money with PrizePicks as little as 4 correct entries. You can go to the MLB, the League of Legends, Call of Duty, UFC, slap boxing. They have it all. But right now, I'm just going towards the MLB slate on Monday. I'm going more than Adolis Garcia, half a total base. More than Andrew Heaney, 4.5 hits allowed. He stinks, by the way. I don't know if you guys watch MLB, but Andrew Heaney, not a good ball player. And then more than on JJ Bleday, half a total bases as well. 3-player entry here. Not going to win the total 5 times your money. It usually does because I got a goblin in there to kind of ensure my safety. Lower risk, lower payout. But that's why playing PrizePicks is so fun, because it is so versatile and it really just customizes to what you want to do. You can do anything you want on PrizePicks. So get started today. Download the app and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. You could also just click on that link that is in the description and comments of today's video. PrizePicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS, first deposit match up to $100. Shout out PrizePicks for sponsoring today's video. All right, let's move on to what could be considered bad news for the Miami Heat. Two key free agents this offseason. Caleb Martin's got a player option. I'd be willing to bet my entire life savings that he is opting out. And then Haywood Highsmith is a restricted free agent. Pat Riley reiterates this is a business as much as anything else, and the Heat has to consider collateral damage of going well above the tax, which, by the way, they're already $10 million over the first line of the luxury tax, the first apron, if you will, in 24-25. If they were to re-sign Caleb Martin, Haywood Highsmith, both of them, they'd be over the second apron for sure. And if honestly, I think if they just signed Caleb back to a $10+ million deal, they'd go over the second apron. So to me, that is why I would be absolutely stunned if Caleb Martin returns to the Miami Heat. He is a good player, a good depth piece, a great rotational guy, a seventh, eighth man off the bench who provides energy, defense, and athleticism is something Miami needs more of. But I just don't think it's worth it. And the collateral damage that Barry Jackson mentioned and Pat Riley talked about is very real. The restrictions and limitations that will be put on your team while going over the second apron is not worth acquiring or bringing back, I should say, Caleb Martin. It would be worth to go over that second apron if you were getting a star player like Donovan Mitchell or Devin Booker or Kevin Durant. But to retain Caleb Martin, that is not worth it. So I would be shocked if Caleb Martin is back with Miami in 2024. All right, let's move on to Tyler Herro now, because Pat Riley kind of flamed him like he did Jimmy Butler. He said Herro has been fragile a little bit, but he also acknowledged there isn't anyone who works harder at his game. Tyler Herro has been one of the most injury-prone players in the NBA over the last 4 seasons. That is not an opinion. That is a fact. We always talk about how Joel Embiid is one of the most injury-prone players in the NBA, if not the most. Well, we actually showed you a graphic earlier in the regular season that over the last 4 seasons, now these numbers have changed, but at that point in time in February and March, Joel Embiid's missed games over the last 4 years, 109. Tyler Herro's, 105. So he's right there with Embiid in terms of missing time, and that is unacceptable from your third best player, someone that you trust to take that leap and grow with Bam and Jimmy and hopefully be that third guy in a title contending team. He just simply has not been able to play. And it's not okay, and that is part of the reason why I am so okay trading Tyler Herro this offseason. Now, if you remember last week, Udonis Haslem actually went on ESPN and was asked about Tyler Herro, and he said that he is better served as a sixth man rather than a starter. Now, I'll also make mention, Udonis Haslem works for the Miami Heat. Like, he is employed by the organization. He also used to be teammates with Tyler Herro when Herro arguably had his best season in 21-22 as sixth man. Pat Riley was asked about those Udonis Haslem comments, and he doubled down on Herro's current status of being a starter. My question to Pat Riley is, if you do believe he is a starter, do you believe he is a starter on your team? And if you believe that, is it with Terry Rozier? And will you try to run that backcourt back next season? I don't know if you can, and I'd be shocked if they did. But be Pat Riley for me down below. Should the Heat trade Tyler Herro? If you believe they should move on from 14, type your T's. If you want him to stay and be that third man with Jimmy and Bam, type your K for Key. All right, before we head out of here, Terry Rozier update, and this one's a little bit of a stunner, if you ask me. We made a lot of notes and mention about Rozier's inability to play in the playoffs and how he went 3 weeks after being a game-time decision. Well, Pat Riley said Rozier is currently in a neck brace and said he was doing everything he's supposed to do. And he also noted that Terry Rozier tried to play in the postseason, but the Heat didn't want him to mess around with it, and they advised against it. All I'm going to say is I wish they were more honest. And I get keeping intrigue for your opponent so they didn't know if they had the game plan for Terry Rozier or not. But I would have, at least as a fan, I guess technically a media member at this point, would have liked to have been told that Rozier would have not been playing in the playoffs, right? It never felt like he was going to if he's been in a neck brace this entire time. I just hope Terry Rozier is going to be okay, heal up, and make a return to the NBA, which it is expected that he will, and it will just heal over time because Terry's a good guy. He wanted to be a member of the Miami Heat. It's a bummer it didn't work out this season. And honestly, I don't even know if he'll be on the roster next year. We'll have a lot of conversations about that, which is why you need to subscribe to the channel. I'm Nick Roth. I'll have you covered on everything surrounding the Miami Heat, trade rumors, news. Listen, the NBA draft's a month and a half away. He'd have the 15th pick. We'll see if they make the selection. But we have everything you possibly need for the Heat's offseason, so hit that sub button.